Hey folks, Pin Tickler here. Morgan ruined a couple takes. That's okay. So, lockpicking. This video basically goes over how do we do this? What's the mechanical way of actually picking a lock? And this is all about tips on how to, get better results at picking, especially when you're new and you just don't know what you're doing yet. All right, first things first. We have a lock, and this is the master number 5, which I don't recommend usually, but since so many people have them, we might as well go over how to pick this lock. First thing we need to do, Jody likes to, I'll let you zoom in on it real quick. She likes to paint for me. It says, "I love you much." 2 pandas. Very, very sweet of her. So first thing we want to do is we want to pick the right size of tension wrench. You'll notice this one might be a little small because it just flails in there, right? So that's no bueno. I want something that's going to stay in there and not go straight to the bottom of the keyway, right? So I find myself a good fit in tension wrench. I can go up, down. It's not going to just fall out arbitrarily out of the keyway. Next, I take my pick. I put it in an angle like this, where the tip is going straight in, and I get all the way in there. Now, how do we hold our hands? If you're holding it, usually you want a good grip on the lock body and one finger to control your tension, right? As for the picking hand, I like putting my middle finger up under the pick right there, and also because it's going to go against the lock body, and kind of I have a shelf right there on my finger where I can pick up on, right? Also, it's kind of like a pencil grip. So I insert my pick, right? And then what do I need to do now? I need to feel if those pins are even moving. So I lift up my tension wrench, or don't even have it in there at all when I do this. Okay? My pins feel like they're moving, so I know I can actually pick this lock. Right? So I get it all the way back in there, get on my shelf. Some locks, you got to pick off a shelf. And when somebody says shelf, it means the picking surface. So this lock in particular, has a kind of paracentric keyway where the warding goes over the midway point, right? So I can't pick from the bottom of the keyway. I got to pick from the middle of it and pick up and go around stuff. Now in this this master lock, I can pick off that shelf right there. You see has a little shelf right there for me to pick off of. That's what we're talking about. So I get my pick on my shelf, right? I get my comfortable hand in there. And the first thing I do is I apply a little bit of tension to see if that'll bind a pin. It does. Stop it. So I'm doing small movements like this with my wrist. I can even put my elbow down. And I'm trying to feel for pins singly, right? Let's do that again. Stop it. No, Morgan. They're out fuera. No. There we go. So I have a moderate amount of tension, right? Got to get on my shelf for picking here. And I try to feel. And I keep my middle finger against there so I can actually feel what's going on. And I'll show you the back version of this here. That doesn't really help because I can't see what I'm doing. This way. There we go. See how my finger's kind of just posting there, and I'm going nice and slow with my pick? Feeling out pin by pin till I can pop it open. Now, you got to go slow like that when you're doing single pin picking. If I'm just doing raking, let's see if I got a rake that'll actually work in here right now. You can do it a bunch of different ways. Let's use the city rake by Multi-Pick here. Just a regular city rake, long rake. I can also zip rake it, which doesn't work so great with this long ripple. I can saw rake, where I go in and out of the keyway and apply kind of different tension techniques. Or I can do what's called bitch picking, which is rocking, where I just rock the pick back and forth, almost like single pin picking. The reason we call it bitch picking is because there's no rhyme or reason to it. You're just going by the luck of the draw. Single pin picking is much more effective at opening every type of lock. That's why you don't see me raking a lot. So we're going to move over to the next lock, the M5. Now the M5 keyway looks like that instead, and it even has M5 written right there. The reason I like and recommend this lock is because it has way better feedback. So I get in there, and of course I lift up my tension wrench and make sure no pins are already picked. Get back over here. I insert all the way back there, and the first thing I start doing, apply a little bit of moderate tension. Here's that click. Go to the next pin. Very short distance. Nothing. There we go. Open really quick by applying moderate tension, keeping my place by using that middle finger to keep my place and not pull my pick out too quick. I start in the back. I don't really feel anything. So I must be a little past the cylinder, right? So I go to the next. What I do to feel pins better, I kind of put my pick like that. And say I'm in the back of the cylinder, like there's nothing to pick, so I pull. And using my, here's the end of the cylinder right here, right? So I kind of use my middle finger to stop where I'm going, and I pull like that. Keep my middle finger right where it's at until I can feel a pin. So that's what you'll see me do right here. I put my middle finger there, and then I kind of pull. See, I pull my pick back, and now I feel a pin. So now I can try to pick it, which I just did. Another one. Another one. Now I felt a definitive click, and I felt my cylinder rotate a little bit. So all I got to do is do that, and you can see it opens for me. Now, some considerations to think about is when we're picking, am I using too much pressure? If I have too much pressure on my tension wrench, I'm going to bind that cylinder up, and it's not going to pick very well. Now, I might get one or two because the cylinder is really tight and it's close enough, but I won't get them all. And if I pick too light, I'm not going to be picking anything. They're just going to fall. The pins are going to fall right back down. I pick that one pin up to the shear line, and the driver pin's on it, and I'm rotating in a cylinder, so that goes that way. And this, I picked one pin, but now the next pin's too far away from the Bible where the cylinder and the lock body meet up, the shear line. If it's too far rotated, those pins can't line up for all 4, 5, 6, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chambers, right? So I need to keep it just here so all the pins can get picked while keeping tension. Because what's happening is, say here's the top of the shear line, I have a pin stuck up here now. And then maybe the next pin is stuck below it, and I don't have enough room to get it up, or I'm stuck mid-pin, right? There's another pin below this, right? And I'm stuck here, and I'm trying to pick up above it, but I have so much tension on this, that it can't slide up past there. Especially when you get into picking serrated pins and stuff, I need to be able to pick multiple clicks. So if your tension is too heavy, you're going to be binding up the cylinder on accident. If it's too light, you aren't going to be touching anything. So go slow. Get all the way in the back. Moderate tension. Little movement. See that little movement? Just like that. It's very simple. Stop. 2 clicks. Stop it, please. I'm trying to do a video. There we go. And you'll see that nice little... At the end, I can actually hear the click, and my cylinder will rotate just a little bit. Now, when you're dealing with spool pins, you're going to get what's a false set. Now, that was a set, right? When the last pin clicks, I'll try to show you up close and impersonal. I know I missed it. Let's just do it right here. There we go. Stop it. There we go. Did you see that, how it rotated a little bit? Now I have a little freedom. Now in serrated pins and spool pins, you'll feel this kind of motion, right? But it'll only go to like right there. It won't go any further. That's called a false set. So the next time I pick a pin, in like any kind of American or Abus, it's going to do what we call counter rotation. It's going to go backwards a little bit as I pick a pin. So I pick a pin, right? And I can feel it pressure. I can feel the pressure going. You can see the thing. And then it'll actually push my tension wrench up a little bit. And then it'll click one, and it's a very slow process, so go slow and use an anchor like my middle finger here. It'll click, and then it'll drop even further into another false set, a deeper false set. And then it'll go click again. As I counter rotate, I'll push up on the next pin that needs to be picked. It'll counter rotate again, and then click even further. You can get false sets down there like that before it even picks, just depending on, you know, where the holes are in the cylinder. So you can get really deep false sets on some. Anyways, and then you'll click it, and then sometimes you'll need to just be like, you'll press really hard. What I do is called bouncing. If I'm in a deep false set, or if I hear a click, right? Like on American locks especially, if I hear a click and I get in my false set, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't give me a lot of rotation, it doesn't go down, it just kind of stays there, what I'll do is I'll bounce it, because sometimes you'll get a click and it won't quite make it past the shear line. So you need to bounce it a little bit without dropping the rest of the pins by releasing too much pressure. You just bounce it a little bit without picking anymore, and it'll actually, oh, okay, there's my false set. I was being a little too rough with my tension, too much tension, and it bound up a little bit, but I just went like, literally like that. And it'll go, and then I'll go on to the next pin. So try to, when you're picking just your regular stuff, use that moderate tension. And when you start hitting security pins, you'll get those false sets, and you'll know, hey, I'm going to get some counter rotation. When I pick that next pin, my whole finger is going to come up. The tension bar is going to pull up on it. And I need to, you know, go slow and smooth on it to get the next pin to go over. Anyways, that's basically what you're doing. If you guys have any questions, of course, you know, DM me, message me anywhere you see me. This is the Pin Tickler. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a great Saturday.